it is a public holiday in Germany. So thank you very much for being here today and giving this presentation.
Thank you all. It's a pleasure. Not sure you can actually see me, the light behind my back.
Yeah, we see you. Yeah, we see you.
Okay, fine. Okay, great. Thanks again for the invite. Good to meet you all. I'm going to share my screen so I can also explain why we have chosen this title, the Pioneer of Forest Certification Scheme. I was supposed to have the presentation here with my colleague Terry, but as was mentioned at the beginning of this call, is unfortunately sick. So it would be me speaking, and look forward also to have a conversation with you all. So we'll be speaking for around 15 minutes. We'll try to speak slowly so that we can also make up the time for the other colleagues that couldn't make it today. But first and foremost, what is the Forest Stewardship Council, FSC? So I'm sure the majority of you have seen our logos on forest products. But what I would like to mention here is that FSC was born in 1994, and we were the result of governmental inaction on world forest. In which way? In the sense that in 1992, at the Rio Summit, governmental leaders, they tried to find an agreement on the world forest. The news is that they failed. They couldn't find an agreement on the world forest. So a group of committed business leaders, NGOs, communities, and indigenous people, they gathered together and they had an idea. Instead of going for the legislation side, let's use the market as a leverage in order to incentivize sustainable forestry practices. And that's how and why they created FSC. So we are a sustainable forestry solution, and our mission is Forest for All Forever, which actually summarizes the fact that we try to balance economic consideration with environmental, but also social one. I will be happy to explain more about that. We are very known to be a forest certification scheme. So our logo, the tree with the check mark that you see on our products. But actually, we are trying, we do more, we offer a holistic solution for forest management. And actually, the word that we prefer is forest stewardship. So what we do is not only responsible sourcing, so we verify supply chain, but we also have rules in our standard that enhance forest conservation, but we're also offering new tools. I will be happy to explain you more a little bit about the FSC ecosystem service procedure, where forest owner can show the positive value that they generate on forest, but also other offering concerning restoration, and we're working on, in particular on a restoration toolkit. Some numbers. Today, this year, we celebrate our 30 years of operation. We have 150 million hectares of certified forest. We had even more actually, but because of the situation on what happened in Russia, we stopped operation there. So we have 100 million and 50 million hectares of certified forest. And in terms of membership, we have more than 1,200 members. And members are crucial for the FSC mission because our members are divided in 3 chambers. We have the social chamber, the environmental chamber, and the economic chamber. So how FSC works is that our members, they gather together and they need to find a compromise, and they co-create the most robust standard for sustainable forest management, which are developed globally, so at the global level, but then they are adapted locally. So they're adapted locally, taking into account the specific features of the forest at hand. And for us, it's also important to show our faces. So every year we gather all together So far, it has been in Cologne. FSC headquarters is in Bonn, and this is all our staff. So you can see the faces behind on what we do. We're now even more than that, more than 400 staff, extremely committed for our mission, which is once again, Forest for All, forever. This leads me to the second point of my presentation. So how actually FSC works? So this is the basics. So FSC is structured around 10 principles and 10 criteria. So this is the foundation of FSC standards. Those are what you see in this slide are FSC 10 principles. And then these principles are further specified by criteria and indicators. And once again, the criteria and indicators, they change according to the specific context of the forest. In terms of standards, we have two standards. We have what we call the FM standard, so the Forest Management Certification. So the certification, yes, and then we have the Chain of Custody certification. So how this works? If you own a forest and you would like that forest is certified, if you respect all our principles and criteria plus the indicators, then the FM certification is awarded to the forest. So that means that the forest respect all these principles and criteria, and then you will be awarded with the FM certification. Then the chain of custody certification serves another purpose. And the purpose is to make sure that the forest product from that particular forest that is FSC certified ends up in the hand of the consumers. And how do we do that? With this chain of custody certification. So to ensure that then the product, the certified product, is checked along every single step of the supply chain. Now, I was mentioning our story a little bit before, because you may have noticed that we were born in 1994. And FSC is always evolving. I will be happy to explain a little bit more about that. But just to say that so far our system was very much paper-based. So how do we ensure this transaction along the supply chain to make sure that that very specific product then ends up to the consumer is via papers? What we're doing now, and I will be happy to tell you more, also in light of this many European but also global legislation, is trying to revolutionize and to strengthen our system. And we are developing new technologies to make sure that the passing of this information is as accurate, as robust as possible. So this is the new procedure, the ecosystem service procedure that I was mentioning about before. So just in general terms, the assumption is, so all the principles and criteria, everything that I have explained so far is based on one simple assumption, that the moment you step into a forest, of course, you're going to disturb in a way an ecosystem that is already working, because nature has created it. So it's a system that is in equilibrium. So all our standards are about mitigating the adverse effect of human operation on forest as much as possible. And that's why we balance economic, social, and environmental consideration. But then we thought, okay, that's great, but how we can also ensure that a forest owner, a forest manager can also demonstrate the positive value of his operation on a forest. So this is based on the first, what I explained before is about, reducing the negative effect. This is about demonstrating the positive value. And so if you follow an additional procedure, which is called ecosystem service procedure, which, by the way, we now have an upcoming consultation. You're welcome to contribute. I can post some links later on an ecosystem service procedure 2.0. So if you follow these additional steps, you can be able to make a claim and demonstrate that the added value that you're doing on the forest concerning soil conservation, carbon sequestration, biodiversity conservation, So that's what I was mentioning at the beginning about the concept of forest stewardship. So also enhancing our offering, particularly in light with demonstrating the positive value that certified operation can have on the climate. You may have seen, once again, our labels into the products, but we have 3 labels that stand together for one mission. So we have FSC 100%. This is, let's say, our golden label. So meaning that the product, that forest product fully respect all FSC principles and criteria. Then we have FSC recycled. So meaning that the materials to make the products were recycled. And then we have FSC mix. So, and the idea here is to balance responsible sourcing while making sustainable forest product also available but still having a high level degree of rigorousness. And the idea here is that the demand for sustainable forestry is extremely high. However, we will need way more FSC certified forest in order to essentially put completely FSC 100% products on the market. So with FSC mix, essentially the product comes from a mixture of materials, either from FSC certified forest, recycled sources of FSC controlled wood. So meaning it's a wood that does not respect completely the full set of criteria indicator, but still it is sure that doesn't come from illegal sources, respect the right of indigenous people. So it's sort of a balance in order to make also responsible sourcing more accessible. In terms of how our system works, so those are the main actors. So we have FSC, the Forest Stewardship Council. So we own our standard. The one that are rewarded with FSC certification are called certificate holders. The certificate bodies, because we are a third-party system, are independent bodies that make sure that those who got the FSC label, they check all the procedure and make sure that the forest owner respect all the FSC procedure. So are the controller, if you want. And then we also have, the critical question, if you want, who controls the controller. Then we have ASI, which is the accreditation body, and it's essentially the one that checks the certification body. I've also included ICL there, which is an important organization because it's the umbrella organization gathering together all certification schemes and label. And for the work you're doing, I'm aware you're already in touch with ICL and will be, I would say, the main organization that can help you with the work that you're doing with the Three Sisters project, because they have already an ICL code and also ICL credibility principle that are about essentially sharing principle that if labels, certification schemes meet this principle, they are considered particularly trusted and robust. And FSC fully respect the ICL code of compliant. We also are absolutely aligned with the ICL credibility principles. And just to mention some ICL credibility principle, there are principles around transparency, principles about the governance of FSC or certification schemes that we respect, and also principles around also social consideration. So in order to have a sustainability system, voluntary sustainability system, that's the terminology that they use for certification schemes, it is also important that the schemes should not only respect environmental consideration, but also social one. I'm not sure I'm going with time, but I'm reaching the end of the presentation, so we can have a round of question and answer, and I see Iris and the others nodding. Okay, so let's say, make this session. I will shorten a little bit this part, but why choosing FSC? And this is, a general slide, but I can also mention other points. So I mentioned that we were born in 1994, and we're celebrating our 30 years of operation this year. And this is an important point, and that makes me proud to work at FSC. FSC is constantly evolving. We were born in an era where there were not many legislation, whereby now is the completely opposite. There are more and more environmental legislation, and that's the powerful part of the Green Deal. Then not only we have more environmental binding legislation, but these legislation are interconnected. So we're evolving, and that's what we're doing at the moment. We're using the opportunity to assess all this relevant legislation in Europe and globally to further strengthen our system. I wrote here that our standards prevent, sorry, a bit of allergy, prevent deforestation and degradation. And in particular, if you think about the UDR, so the EU Deforestation Free Supply Chain Regulation, we are using that opportunity to essentially make our standards even stronger. Another, why choosing FSC, another why is important is because our main strength is in our system. The fact that we have a three-chamber balance system allow us to put together different stakeholders, and they always come up with different fresh forestry solution. Here you can see some of the added values, so our standards prevent deforestation and degradation. Once again, using this opportunity to strengthen our system. We will soon have a launch event on our FSC offering for UDR. This will be on 3rd of July. This for me is super important for what I was mentioning, the social part. So we have specific requirements to protect indigenous people rights. I guess this is important for the project we're doing. Our claims meet strict criteria. Just to stress this part, we have been following and supported both the EU Empowering Consumers and the Green Claims Directive. Empowering Consumers is now already into force. The Green Claims is currently being negotiated by the Commission, the Council, and the Parliament. But according to our analysis for the documents that we have available at the moment, we believe we will be compliant also with the Green Claims initiative. This is the last slide. We're investing a lot on integrity, so to protect our system, and then I conclude. You can see in this slide some of the modules that we have in order to protect our system. So we have a specific policy for association, and I will just invest couple of seconds, the supply chain integrity. If you remember when I was explaining the difference between FM certification and the chain of custody, when I mentioned that our system is paper-based, that's exactly what we're doing now. We want to revolutionize our system, and we are investing a lot in new technologies, and in particular on blockchain. So this year, around October, November, we will be able to unveil our FSC blockchain beta offering. And the idea is that we want to make sure that the transaction will be secure and immutable, and that's where blockchain can help us. So very happy to share further information in the following months, because traceability is a mega trend, not only for UDR. There are many other legislation that requires now traceability. And I think it's unavoidable for the worlds where we are, because the idea is that if you are making a claim, you need to be 100% sure that that claim is robust and actually fully reflect what you're actually saying in that claim. Thank you very much for your attention. Very happy to share this slide. And last point is that we are called Forest Stewardship Council, but everybody could be a forest steward. We do believe in our mission, so you're welcome to join us to improve our system. We are an imperfect system, and we are a solution of compromise, because it's about this always ongoing discussion between environment, economy, the social part. But if you think about all the ongoing conversation, whether we're going to have a new Green Deal, an industrial deal, that's what it's all about. We need to have a new deal that encompasses all the three components of sustainability: environment, the economy, the social part. That's what we're all about. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Matteo. That was a very, very interesting presentation, and I'm sure that there are a lot of questions. Before